Welcome. Audible. Free audiobooks and tales. It's automatically dubbed in your language, has subtitles, and the subscription is free. Today, I'll read you a new Audible. Narrated by Amadriadi. Enter the author's magical world. Are you ready? Let's go. Audibles. Title: Scuppered. Author: Nicola Baxter. Fantasy Tales. Narrated by Amadriadi. Life on the ocean wave is rarely comfortable and frequently dangerous. Pugnacious Pete has always, so to speak, sailed pretty close to the wind. But recently even he has begun to think that things are little too exciting on board the Maiden's Rash. Even if you don't count psychopathic squid and mid-ocean collisions, there is the perennial problem of treacherous Trevor. For Trevor certainly is treacherous, and not in a nice way. In recent weeks, Pete has found Dutch death fish in his spare underpants, broken glass in his boots, and Cantonese killer crabs in his hammock. He has also seen Trev muttering with various members of the combined crew of the Rash. And the Pimple, the word Munity, strolls in a sinister way through the darkest corners of Pete's mind. As Pete becomes increasingly ill at ease, the crew, too, gets edgier. Soon, everyone is creeping around, constantly looking over their shoulders, and jumping at the creak of a plank or the squawk of a parrot. Of course, they are bumping into each other a lot, too. It's looking over the shoulder that does it. You really need wing mirrors if you are going to go in for a lot of that sort of thing. One afternoon, when dark storm clouds are billowing above the Maiden's Rash, and a deep sense of foreboding is swirling around the topsail, a ship is sighted on the horizon. A sail! A sail! Cries the cabin boy, wriggling in the rigging. Aha! Cries Pete, leaping to his feet. He has been sitting on the deck, a pistol in one hand, and the sword of doom in the other. Wishing he had a better idea of treacherous Trevor's precise whereabouts at the moment. Now, the possibility of some action at last, against an unknown enemy instead of an only too familiar one, stirs Pete's blood. Who knows what may be on the fast approaching ship? Gold, jewels, chocolate biscuits. Pete lets out a bloodthirsty yell. Yo ho ho! What manner of ship is she? He asked the cabin boy. Thwack! The luckless cabin boy lands suddenly at Pete's feet. Well, foot. His face is white. His lips are trembling. His fingers are quivering. And not all of this is due to the fact that he has landed on one of the Cantonese killer crabs. What is it, boy? Yells Pete, impatient for news. The cabin boy twitches. It's DDDD. He tries. Dutch. Danish. Drifting. Dusty. Loaded with digestives. Ask Pete. No. It's DDD-. There is a look of agony on the cabin boy's face. The killer crab isn't looking too healthy either. Pete's brow clears. Of course. It's another pirate ship. Oh. It's Desperate Derek? No. DDDD. Other crew members join in the game. Dark-hearted Dave. Dire Dominic. Dastardly Donald. As the cabin boy struggles to reply, the strange ship has been gaining on the Maiden's Rash. It's a evil craft as you will ever see. As Pete, Trev, and their crew look up at last, the awful truth dawns on them. It is much, much worse than Dark-hearted Dave, Dire Dominic, or Bastardly Donald. With one voice, they gasp. Dreadful Doris. And they turn to look at Pugnacious Pete, who is making a desperate attempt to throw himself overboard. Oh, no. You don't, say treacherous Trevor, grabbing his co-captain, without ceremony. This, I have to see. Quaking, Pugnacious Pete is dragged across the deck. At the same moment, the captain of the approaching ship, named, as is now clear, the Athlete's Itch, leaps lithely on board the Rash. It is dreadful Doris herself, the meanest, baddest, fiercest pirate the world has never known. Hello, Pete, you miserable maggot. She cries, in a voice that could stop a tornado in its tracks. Hello, Mum. Mutters Pete. There are words that are rarely said, and even more rarely written. But I am going to write them, Now, poor old Pete. He may be ugly. He may be unhygienic. But no one deserves a mother like dreadful Doris. She has a voice like a foghorn. She lives to harass and humiliate. She dresses in a way that would make any son shudder. She has terrible taste in earrings. And she is completely unaware of any of these failings. Pete looks with panic at his crew. To a man, they turn away and begin whistling. There is no choice. Pete stumbles forward to be embraced by the woman whose perfume is the only known cure for an infestation of shipworms. Poor old Pete. He sits on the deck with his mother while she reminisces in a voice that reaches the top of the topsail and the bottom of the bilge. She leaves nothing out. Pete's potty training. Pete's lack of success with girls. Pete's personal hygiene problems. Pete is well and truly scuppered. And now, Doris declares she will invite the crew of the Maiden's Rash to a special supper on board the Athlete's Itch. That is, if Pete, sensitive stomach, is up to it. Pete shuts his eyes and prays for the arrival of giant squid. That night, on board the Athlete's Itch, Pete endures tortures that are too painful for me to mention. Suffice it to say that the evening begins with dreadful Doris showing Pete's baby pictures and gets worse. Poor Pete can't even drown his sorrows in rum, for the eagle eye of his mother glitters, alarmingly if he so much as toys with a tankard. Of course, everyone else enjoys the evening enormously. And none more so than treacherous Trevor. Nothing in the world delights him so much as to see pugnacious Pete in agony. Dutch deathfish and Cantonese killer crabs cannot do half the damage of a mother in full flood. It is very late when an all-too-sober Pete staggers to his hammock at last. He doesn't even bother to check it for broken glass or sea snakes. Blessed oblivion, by whatever means, is all that he can hope for. For 3 ghastly days, Pete endures the presence of his mother. Eventually, he enters a weird world of his own, where he tries to blot out the horror of what is happening around him. And that is, perhaps, why he really has no idea of something that is happening right under his nose. Others notice a softening in dreadful Doris. Shipworms shudder to find that she is wearing more perfume than usual. A new tattoo appears on her brawny forearm. She wears her hat at a jaunty angle, and her earrings become slightly less dangerous. And she takes to singing, as she trolls, is not a pleasant sound by any means. And the killer crabs all scuttle back to Canton as soon as she starts. But it is an improvement on the paint-stripping powers of her usual voice. Pete, however, notices none of this. You can imagine the shock. Then, when he enters the captain's cabin on the Maiden Rash one day, to find dreadful Doris, his mother and tormentor, locked in a passionate embrace with treacherous Trevor. "Darling, Petey poops," yells Doris, with a bashful smirk. "Trevor and I are going to tie the knot. Meet your new daddy." Pete's mind is unable to grasp this fresh awfulness. Does this mean, will Trev and Doris live happily ever after here on the Maiden's Rash? But Doris is still speaking. "I'm sorry, sweetie. Trev and I will be sailing off tomorrow on our honeymoon. Can you manage without your dear old mum?" A joyous fact is bubbling up from Pete's boots and making its way to his brain. Doris is leaving. Trev is leaving. Together. Forever. Today. For the first time in weeks, pugnacious Pete smiles. "I'll try," he says. The end.